Hi everyone, today I'll be fighting the Misery Toadstool. Before I can start the fight, I need a canary. We get this type of bird around our friendly scarecrows. I already have a scarecrow, so now I just have to capture a canary by placing a bird trap anywhere around the vicinity of the scarecrow. Now that I have a canary, it's time for me to head to the caves. I have a lot of items and a few farms in my cave base, so whatever else I might need for the fight I will just gather while I'm down there. To turn Toadstool into the Misery version, the canary has to be poisoned. According to Wiki, the canary has to be placed in a bird cage while in the caves while Toadstool is alive for the canary to get poisoned. Toadstool has 3 different spawning points, and I mark each location on my map with an Oki-Vigil. That way, when Toadstool is available, I can see its location. It takes 6 to 12 minutes in the bird cage for the canary to get poisoned, so I'm going to fast forward a little here while I wait and gather the other items I'll be using for the fight. This is what the canary looks like when it gets poisoned. It's not dead yet, but it will eventually die if I leave it alone. Feeding it items does not help. If I bring the poisoned canary to the surface and drop it on the ground, it will fly away and leave behind saffron feathers as a thank you for saving and freeing it. The other thing that we can do with the poisoned canary is to drop it right beside Toadstool's mushroom. I can drop the canary now right beside the mushroom. Dropping a poisoned canary on the ground while in the caves causes it to explode. If it explodes beside the mushroom, it turns Toadstool into the Misery version. I don't normally bring a star color staff to this fight, but the last time I did this, some of the comments were suggesting that I use one. It will make it easier and does make the video a lot brighter. I actually only need 12 Dark Swords to deal over 100,000 damage as Wigfrit, but I expect that I will have to fight a few shadow creatures and maybe even deathworms over the course of such a long fight. Also, whenever I attack Toadstool while there are 1 to 4 spore caps, the spore caps will block 20% of my damage, so I brought a few extra Dark Swords to be sure. These small mushrooms that Toadstool throws around itself are called boom shrooms. There's a lot of time to react and move away before they explode if you do not want to tank the damage. These are spore bombs that Toadstool attaches to our head. After around 4 seconds, it will turn into a spore cloud that will drop where we are currently standing. The spore clouds only do a lot of damage if you continue to stand in the spore clouds area. Clouds also rapidly spoil any perishable items, which is why I'm keeping my food in the icebox. I usually try to count the 4 seconds in my head before the spore cloud drops so that I know when to move away before it lands. These are the spore caps that Toadstool summons. They don't actually do any direct damage, but they will increase Toadstool's damage and defense. The easiest way to get rid of these spore caps is with weather paints, provided you're willing to farm the items to craft them. I think I need an average of around 8 weather paints when I solo the regular Toadstool with Wigfrit. Since Misery Toadstool has roughly double the health of the regular version, I brought 18 weather panes just to be sure. I know that weather panes are an expensive item to craft, but if some of you are following my Maxwell playthrough, Toadstool and also the Fuel Weaver are the reasons I kill all of the available moose and moslings every spring, and why vault goats are important to me. When a weather pane reaches 7%, I like to save it and use a deconstruction staff on it later. That way I'll get the one gear and also the horn that it originally cost me to craft the weather pane. I only brought one battle helm for armor and not that many healing items. This is because I'm not going to intentionally tank in this fight. In my previous video on the regular Toadstool, I would intentionally tank some damage so that I could attack more over a shorter period of time. But this version of Toadstool does around 50% more damage than the regular version, so tanking could mean too much time spent healing and the fight might take even longer. Wigfrid gains a little sanity regeneration while she attacks. It won't be enough to prevent me from going insane, and I will need to fight a few shadow creatures. I would recommend bringing some items for sanity regeneration if you don't want to deal with the terrorbeaks and crawling horrors during this fight. I would have preferred to bring some jerky, but I did not have any at the time, and I didn't feel like waiting around to make jerky. I'm trying here to move Toadstool away from the hole where it spawned, before Toadstool summons a Spore Caps that tries to walk back to that area. This is actually Toadstool's most vulnerable moment because it will not do any attacks while it walks back to the hole, and its next action will always be to summon the Spore Caps. The further away Toadstool is from the hole, the more time I have to continue attacking. I don't always do this because it also takes a little time away from attacking while I try to properly position Toadstool. Toadstool drops the first Shroom skin, which would have meant that I had already dropped Toadstool to 70% of its health in the regular version. I thought it also meant that with Misery Toadstool, but this is actually the first time I fought the Misery version, and apparently it drops a Shroom skin one additional time in this version. The regular Toadstool will drop a Shroom skin at 70% and again at 40% health. I'm not sure about this one, but I'm guessing maybe Misery Toadstool drops a Shroom skin at 75%, 50%, and again at 25% health. So Misery Toadstool has 4 phases and I'm currently at its second phase. I know that some of you have requested that I explain how I use the controls of this game, but although I think I can handle the controls relatively well, I don't think the way I do it is the best way to control your character. First of all, I move my character with the mouse and not with the keyboard keys WASD, and it seems like the majority of players use the keyboard and not the mouse to move in this game. The only reason I use the mouse and not the keyboard to move my character is because I used to play a lot of Warcraft and Dota when I first started playing Don't Starve Together. If you have ever played those games, then maybe you understand why. So I don't know if there's much of a point for me to talk specifically about my controls when I believe that using the keyboard is actually the better way to play this game. So my only advice about controlling your character is that you should be using shortcut keys to switch between items quickly. You can bind and set the keys to however you want to use them. As long as you can switch between items comfortably and quickly, you should be fine. So Toadstool drops a second Shroom skin at this point, and now it is in the third phase. Just like the regular Toadstool during the third phase, the Misery version will start doing a jumping ground slam similar to Berger's attack. I definitely want to avoid getting hit by this. Unlike the Boom Shrooms, this attack is a lot more sudden and is not as easy to avoid. The ground slam is more of a periodic attack rather than an attack that comes after a certain move. This is kind of like when Toadstool spawns the Spore Caps. It becomes Toadstool's priority move after a certain amount of time has passed. Similarly, the ground slam becomes a priority attack after a certain amount of time has passed since the last time it did a ground slam. So if it hasn't done it in a while, be aware that it will be the first attack it does as soon as you approach it. You can either expect the ground slam and be the proper distance away when it does it, or you can move in and out to bait the move before you can safely approach and do damage. I was a little surprised to see a third shroom skin drop before Toadstool died. This is now the fourth and final phase of Misery Toadstool, and doesn't appear to be any different from the previous phase. The light from the dwarf stars created by the star-colored staff lasts 3.5 game days or 28 minutes. And I'm already over that time period. Instead of using the staff again, I decided to just switch between the muggles and my helm when I need to. This is how I normally fight Toadstool anyway. I'm now getting a wave of deathworms. Fortunately, Toadstool already does the ground slam, since that becomes a priority if it hasn't done it in a while. If I can get all of the worms synchronized to attack me while I approach Toadstool, all of them should get hit at the same time. If the damage from Toadstool doesn't kill them, the worms will start to attack Toadstool after it hits them. Either way, they will no longer bother me. It dropped 2 shroom skin when it died, and since it dropped 3 during the fight, I got a total of 5. It also drops the blueprint for the Knapsack, which is crafted with a poison canary and a shroom skin. I haven't made this item yet, but from what I've read about it, it doesn't seem to have any advantage over the pan flute. But I haven't tried it out yet, so I don't really know. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to share any interesting uses for this new item. Overall, I'm a little disappointed with the Misery Toadstool. I like the regular version, but I was hoping this special version would have been done differently. The fight really hasn't changed at all aside from it taking double the amount of time. I would have preferred it if they did not double the health and instead maybe added 1 or 2 different mechanics to make it feel like a different boss. Anyway, that is just my opinion. That's all for now guys. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.